Timothée Chalamet stars in the new Bob Dylan biopic. Is it any good? Let's find out right now.
Make some noise, BD.
Let's just say that this movie was indeed a complete unknown to me because I wasn't too familiar with Bob Dylan before watching it outside of, some songs like Blowin' in the Wind and A Hard Rains Are Gonna Fall, which are basically his most popular music, so of course I'd known those, but I always like a good biopic, and I thought the trailers looked really nice, and after I got to the movie, I was like, damn, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I might have loved it because it felt like a total vibe. And what I mean by that is like, Bob Dylan, if you've seen Bob Dylan in some videos and his music, he definitely has that certain vibe to his music. It is like folk music, kind of a little bit of country in there, electric in there. But he is a very, relaxed guy in some sort of ways. And just the trailers and the movie itself gave off just this relaxing feeling because it brings you into the 1960s in such a nice way. And it also brings you into the mind of Bob Dylan in such a calming and nonchalant way. You just start the movie with him in this car traveling through the country in just a random person's car because he is a complete unknown at that part, and he's just trying to get a start. He's trying to get that spark, looking for the spark. And I was interested to see, how this movie would be. I was kind of worried because the long runtime and how it worked, 2 hours, like 20 minutes. But I really never felt the runtime. I was locked into this because of that specific vibe that I was talking about. It's such a calming, kind of really enjoyable movie at this kind of person that I didn't know. So I really felt like I, left the movie, came away with a lot of knowledge and just a lot of interesting feelings about Bob Dylan, good and bad, but all I can say is that I love this movie. James Mangold helming this film worried me slightly because of how I felt about his last one, which was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which just came out last year, I think. So he's had 2 films in the span of 2 years. Kind of crazy there. Dial of Destiny, I think it has a really good third act, first act. Second act was a very big struggle. Its biggest flaws were its runtime. It had a lot of just lengthy scenes that weren't needed, and its harsh effects like CGI in that. But I had a strong feeling that, James Mangold would make, a complete unknown great because he's back to a grounded film, kind of a biopic sort of film that doesn't have a lot of effects, not a big splashy movie. He's done well with films like 4v Ferrari, which I'm a huge fan of. Walk the Line, Johnny Cash biopic right there, and a film that isn't so grounded, which is a superhero movie, which is Logan, which I guess you could say is a little grounded for a character like him. It's one of the best superhero movies of all time, and I must give props to where they are due because Mangold killed this movie. You can tell that he was such a big fan of Dylan himself because of how much care he put into this movie and how many songs he has in the movie. I don't know the full number of songs. I think it's like maybe 20, over 20 or something like that. So it feels like he really stuffed a lot in there, so you get a lot of information in just those 5 years, because this movie only takes place over 5 years from Bob Dylan being becoming a known person in the folk genre to him kind of switching to that electric vibe. And I really thought he stuffed a lot in there with those 5 years, and even I would like to know more, even though we only got that little bit. But it does feel better and a better decision than Mangold trying to stuff a whole lifetime into a biopic. I always feel like those ones just move way too fast. We don't get enough information. I thought Mangold killed this, and I hope that he sticks with these types of movies because they work best for him. Comparing A Complete Unknown to other recent biopics we have been getting seems kind of impossible, as it isn't trying to go for the constant fast-paced, editing style that Elvis did, Bohemian Rhapsody also did. Bohemian Rhapsody had some terrible editing. I don't know how it won an Oscar for that. But this one kind of more reminds me of what Rocketman did with its intimate kind of picture of an artist shying away from what other people wanted him to be. Bob, wasn't a perfect man. He's a far from perfect man. It's just like everyone else. As, we saw in the movie, he had relationship issues. His one girlfriend left to go do something for, weeks and weeks and weeks. And so he got with another girl, and then there's issues with that. So he really had a hard time there. And he's actually a pretty shy person, an introvert for the most part. I loved his look though, how he always wears those sunglasses. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy those glasses, man. I just want to run around like that, no one looking in my eyes. I don't want anyone to see me. But you got to give him props where he is due because he is a damn good writer. I know some people don't like his voice and how he sings. I really liked it though. I like it in his, original music, but I also like Timothée Chalamet here. But he's a fantastic writer. His words just flow so well. So it was interesting to see, how strongly people started hating him especially at the festival that he performed at, after he made his change to electric. It wasn't the smartest decision, but he wasn't going to let anyone change his mind. That's what I found so fascinating about Bob Dylan, is how he always did his own thing, always did what he believed in, even if other people said, "Oh, this is going to be a huge mistake." And as we said, he was not a perfect person, but he always did something very interesting. And as someone who has only heard a few of Bob's songs, I'll be rocking the soundtrack for a long time because I enjoyed mostly all these tracks. And as I said before, the writing for Bob is so good. Let's talk about our cast here. We got the main star, of course, Timothée Chalamet from, of course, everything you have known the past like 6 years or something like that. Also saw him in Interstellar again. So good in that movie for such a small role. But the Dune movies, he had Dune this year, Call Me By Your Name, a lot of great movies for a beautiful boy. But I will say, Chalamet completely transforms into Bob Dylan and disappears into this role with his mannerisms and all. And he sounds exactly like him in my eyes. I know people say that he doesn't sound exactly like him. Well, he's not going to sound, perfectly like him, especially because the recording stuff is very different now. You can hear him a lot more clear than you heard Bob Dylan a long time ago, but he does sound a lot like him. And, even if he wasn't singing, I thought he sounded like him because he has the Bob Dylan voice where you can hardly understand what he's saying. And I will say, I think that this is Timothy's best performance yet. I actually don't know what I'd put second. Maybe the Dune movies. He is so good in those movies. Call Me By Your Name is also up there. Beautiful Boy is also up there. Wonka's a great performance because it's a musical and all, but this is also musical and stuff. But, he put so much work into this movie. I've seen on interviews, set photos of him practicing the guitar, practicing the Bob Dylan songs on the set of Dune Part 1, all the way back then. I think they were filming Dune Part 1 in like 2019, 2020. So he's been working on this for a long time because production on this has been delayed a little bit because Mangold had to go film Dial of Destiny. So he's been preparing for this for a long time. And I think it paid off for him. It's such a good performance. And even though I haven't seen The Brutalist, Adrian Brody's performance, probably not until like late January, I won't see that. I will say that Timothée Chalamet is my front runner to win for Best Actor at the Oscars next year. I feel like he is the best actor in that category. My favorite performance by a female actress this year is Maggie Madison. My favorite performance by a male actor this year is going to be Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan. He is terrific here. Really, you can feel his emotions even when he has those sunglasses on. You can't even see his eyes. Usually, emotions come from the eyes nearly all the time, but you can feel how he's feeling even with those glasses on, even when he's singing. I felt like we transported back in this time period so well with him in this. So yeah, he is definitely my favorite performance this year from an actor. And, it's going to be a close race between him and Brody, but I think he has a big chance to win. Edward Norton as Pete Seeger is also very good as the person that takes, Bob Dylan in. Never knew a lot about this history. I'm kind of interested to get the book that this was based off of, just see if there's more, conversations between the two of them, because they had a good relationship to start out, and then they kind of had a falling out there for a little bit because Edward Norton, Pete Seeger, kind of didn't like where Bob was going. Also, he's like, you got to stay in the folk music. You can't, switch. You got to be this icon for everyone. You got to, know what you're doing here. So they had kind of a falling out, but then they got back together. It's sort of really interesting. Edward Norton, though, I thought he was great. Boyd Holbrook as Johnny Cash in this one, also featured in Dial of Destiny as the villain. Love some Boyd Holbrook. I think he's a perfect guy, cast member, especially for a supporting performance. He's also the villain in Logan, so he's been in a lot of James Mangold movies. What's funny is I think Joaquin Phoenix played Johnny Cash and James Mangold's Walk the Line, so it would have been hilarious if they got Joaquin Phoenix for this role, but I doubt he would have done it. But Boyd Holbrook was really good. You kind of feel his aura, leeching off him, because Johnny Cash is a cool guy. Then you got the two supporting actress performances from Elle Fanning playing Sylvie and Monica Barbara playing Joan. Thought both of them were fantastic, just under Timothée Chalamet. I'm going to put both of them up there as my favorite performers in this movie because, Bob Dylan, he had kind of these mixed up relationships with these affairs with both these people, even though he wasn't married to them, kind of like cheated on Sylvie with Joan. He had just issues all around trying to, lasso them all in. And you kind of saw it, even though he had issues with Sylvie on the relationship spectrum, with Joan's character, it was interesting to see the dynamic of them kind of butting heads going against each other because he knew that she was such a great singer, very popular, but he kind of wanted that spotlight, so he tried to take it away from her, and then she kind of noticed. So they were kind of lovers in a way, like haters, but they also hate each other sometimes. Bob kind of wanted to take advantage of her. They went on tour and it didn't end up very well, but Monica Barbaro, she does such a great job. Her voice in here is terrific. I loved her singing in here. She was also in Top Gun Maverick. Hopefully she gets some more roles like this. I really loved her in here. Elle Fanning is always great in anything. I'm watching The Great right now. Also, she's great in that, but I love both of them in this movie. For awards predictions, as much as I want this movie to win a lot of awards, it might only get a few nominations at the Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Sound, and maybe supporting actor for Edward Norton. But I do think it will get in the picture, actor, and sound pretty easily. The sound design on this movie is terrific. Usually for biopics, it is nice, but the sound design really is cool. When Timothée Chalamet is walking down the street, you hear a lot of different instruments because he's hearing those electric stuff for the first time. It's nice stuff. Best Picture, it's probably not going to win. Best Actor, though, as I said, Timothée Chalamet, he does have a big chance to win. Adrien Brody, though, is getting a lot of hype for The Brutalist, but I think it just comes down to the two of them. As much as I love Coleman Domingo's performance and stuff like that, I think just Timothée Chalamet turns completely into Bob Dylan. It's terrific here. But yeah, it's going to go down to Adrien Brody or Timothée Chalamet. It would be really cool to see Timothy win, you know. He could be one of the, you know, he's been nominated a couple times too, but he would be one of the youngest actors, I think, to win a lead actor performance Oscar. So that'd be cool, but I do have it getting nominated for at least 3 Oscars so far. Overall, A Complete Unknown is another one of my favorites from 2024, and it's a total vibe that I want to watch again right now. James Mangold has a big comeback after Dial of Destiny as he returns to his grounded roots, while Timothée Chalamet completely transforms into Bob Dylan with not only his mannerisms but also his voice. Elle Fanning and Monica Barbaro were also huge standouts as you felt their impact, and I will say the music will stay on repeat for me. I'm gonna give The Complete Unknown a strong 9 out of 10. If you enjoyed my review, make sure to leave a like, helps me out a lot. It's free to do so. If you did see A Complete Unknown, leave your own thoughts down below, and I will probably be uploading this on Christmas, so Merry Christmas to you all, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.